I think that I am live. Happy Thursday. I am excited to be back with you. For those of you who don't know me or are new to me, I am Trasetta Annelle, Washington life balance coach and productivity consultant. I'm also the CEO of Profitable Productivity. And what we do, or what I do, is partner with women executives and entrepreneurs, as well as leaders, to help them have it all without sacrificing the things that matter most to them. And today is a great day to prioritize you, not only prioritize you, but the things that you desire, which is why I'm going to be talking about effective goal setting. You know, we're coming to the end of the second quarter. We're just literally like a week away from the end of Q2 and stepping into the second half of 2022. Can't believe this year has gone by so fast. I feel like we say that every year, but either way it goes, here we are coming up on the mid-year. And I thought this was a really great time or great opportunity to start talking about effective goal setting because, well, for two reasons. One, by now, if you set New Year's goals or did New Year's resolutions, chances are by now you have fallen off of those because very few people actually follow through with their goals. Matter of fact, most people fall off of their New Year's resolutions or their New Year's goals by January 27th. We don't even make it out of the first month of the year before we're back to doing the things that we were doing pre-goals or pre-New Year. But the second reason is because I like to focus on quarterly goals, 90-day goals, because when you start setting annual goals, I'm not saying don't set annual goals. Absolutely set annual goals. What I'm saying is to take your annual goals and then break those down into quarterly goals or 90-day goals so that you can focus more short term. A lot of times we underestimate what we can accomplish in a year and overestimate what we can accomplish in, say, a week or a month or 3 months. So by taking your big overarching goal, breaking that down into a quarterly goal, that helps you to be more narrowly focused and create some momentum towards the things that you're desiring. So even if you did set your goals at the beginning of the year, whether you're on track, off track, or even, above, moved beyond what you anticipated for this year, I think that this is a really great conversation for us to be having today. So, because even if you are overachieving on your goals, maybe this conversation or what I'm going to share today is going to encourage you to maybe kind of 10x those goals and make them a little bit bigger. So I've got some notes pulled up here. And let me adjust my camera because I feel like I'm like a talking head where I just have like hands that just come out of nowhere. So I want to be a little bit more, I want the camera a little bit lower. All right, there we go. So according to a study done by the University of Scranton, people have an 8% goal success rate. 8%. So that means out of 100 people, only 8 people would actually achieve their goals. 92 would not. They would fall off. They would kind of fall in that January 27th category that I was talking about a little while ago. And the true key here is to achieve your goals is to make sure that you're being clear on them and writing them down, because one of the things about writing things down, getting them out of your head and writing them down is I feel like it kind of gives voice to them. It kind of makes it alive. It makes it a little bit more tangible when you write things down. And it also helps you to start to think about the plan, right? But we're going to go beyond thinking about a plan and actually developing a plan. I'm going to share with you how you can do that today. So people actually perform better when they have a very well-defined, very well laid out plan. And there's been some research that shows that for every minute you spend planning, you actually save yourself 10 minutes of doing. So not only does having a plan make you much more likely to be able to achieve your goal, it also helps you save time because you can anticipate some things that you're going to need along the way. So there's a scripture in the Bible, Habakkuk, I believe it's Habakkuk 2:2, where it says, write the vision and make it plain. It might be 2 and 3, Habakkuk 2:3. Write the vision, make it plain. And again, when we take it out of our brain and put it onto paper, it becomes much more real, much more tangible. So I definitely want to encourage you to, after you can either do this along with me today as I'm sharing with you these strategies or the techniques for setting goals and writing, crafting a plan, or you can go back, take some notes, and then go back and do this on your own. And I definitely encourage you to do it within the next 24 hours of watching this video. The reason why is because the more time lapsed in between you getting the information, getting the knowledge, and you taking action on it, the less likely you are to be impassioned about it and actually take action. So within 24 hours, that's your assignment, to make sure that you go through this process. So the first thing is to, when you're setting your goals, is to make sure that you're making them SMART goals. And I'm sure the majority of you are very familiar with this, with the acronym SMART goals. The S stands for specific. So get very specific about what it is that you want to achieve. You don't want ambiguity. It's not, I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to save money, I'm going to make more money, I'm going to start investing. Like, no, you need to be as specific as possible when you are setting your goals. Be very clear, no ambiguity. We want it to be very, very clear. The M stands for measurable. You want to make sure that you can actually measure the goal. Having the metrics to determine goal achievement is going to make the goal much more tangible. Going back to the losing weight, I love to use weight loss because most people can relate to it, and the numbers are really easy. So if your goal is to lose weight, no, let's make that more specific. How much weight do we want to lose? And not only is that more specific, but it also is measurable. We can see if we know where we're starting weight, or where our starting weight is, and what the end goal, that we're going to lose 20 pounds, we can very easily get on a scale and see whether or not we achieve the goal or not. If you just stick with something that is not specific, where it is, I'm going to lose weight, then what if you lost 1 pound? Did you achieve your goal? You achieved your goal because you lost 1 pound, but that may not have been the result that you were asking for. But again, it needs to be measurable. Like, what is the measurement? What are the metrics that you're going to use in order to, one, track your progress, and two, make sure that you, to determine whether or not you achieve your goal or not. The A stands for achievable or attainable. You want to make sure that the goal that you set is a stretch, but it's not so far out of the realm of possibility that you set yourself up for failure. So you want to stretch yourself, but make sure that it's actually realistic for you to achieve the goal in the amount of time that you decided that you're wanting to do, get the goal achieved by. I said that kind of weird. Make sure that you set it to a place where it's actually achievable in the time frame that you desire to achieve it. I think that's a little bit better. The R stands for relevant. You want to make sure that you're setting goals that are in unison with what you believe and what you value, as well as the priorities that you have established for your life and for your career. Now, I'm not getting into prioritization today. I'll come back and talk about that at a later time. But that's one of the things that when I'm walking my clients through the goal setting and strategic planning process, that's the very first thing that we do is, well, it's not the first thing. First thing we do is, determine, set a vision, like decide what it is that we really want. But the second thing that we do is really establish some priorities. What from the vision is most important right now? So that we know that when we're setting goals, that we're setting goals that are in alignment with the things we've established as the priorities in our life. Because everything must be in alignment. So you want to make sure that the goals that you set are relevant to your priorities, that they're relevant to your life. Sometimes we will set goals because they sound good, or because maybe there's some pressure for us to do a particular thing, or maybe from a family member, a loved one, or a friend, or maybe you see someone, one of your peers is going for their doctorate degree, and you feel like, oh, well, I need to get my doctorate degree as well. But is that really important to you? Is that something that is in alignment with your value system and the direction that you desire to go with your career or your business or whatever the case may be? So make sure that it is relevant. And then the T, of course, stands for time bound. You got to have a deadline. You got to have a deadline. Make sure that you set a date, mark it on your calendar, write it down, circle it on your calendar, put, whatever it is that you're going to achieve by that date, because this gives you a deadline. This gives you a time frame that you're going to work in. Without having that date, without having that deadline, then it could be stretched out to go on and on and on years down the line. There's, I believe it's a part of Murphy's Law. Don't quote me on this, but I believe that it's a part of Murphy's Law where it says that time, a project or a task will expand to fit the time that is allotted to it. Meaning, if you give yourself an infinite amount of time to achieve something, then what's going to happen is that project or that task or that goal is going to stretch out to the amount of time that you give yourself to achieve it. But if you make it a short period of time, then you're going to be much more likely to achieve it in that time frame, right? Have you ever been, I think that's kind of why we, like when we have when school and we had those projects or those papers that need to be written, and for my, procrastinators, my last minute people that are watching, that are in the house today, you knew you only had, it was due the next day, and you only had 12 hours, 18 hours to write the paper that you had been given the assignment 2 weeks prior, which it should have taken you 2 weeks, to complete it. But because you compressed time and you left it to the last minute, you completed the paper in the time that you had allotted because you had to. You didn't have any choice. That's what setting a date, setting a deadline, making your goals time bound will do for you. It will help you to compress time so that you can actually achieve the things that you want. All right. So that's where that's where we go as far as goal setting. And by being very specific and crafting SMART goals, that helps you to gain clarity, and clarity conquers overwhelm. It's so easy for us to get overwhelmed with a big goal that we're wanting to achieve when it is ambiguous. I like to say clear is kind. And not only is it kind to other people, but it's kind to ourselves. So when we can be very clear about what it is that we're wanting to achieve, that makes it a lot easier for us to move forward with it. So now that you've set your goals, you've established your SMART goals, the next step is to break them down. Break them down into what I call to smaller goals, which I call milestones, right? So milestones can be simplified into specific tasks, right? So once you take the big goal and break it down into specific milestones that you're going to achieve, then the next thing you're going to do is to break those milestones down into specific tasks. So the reason why I like to take the milestones, so if you think about going on a road trip and you're driving and that you're going, so I'm in Tallahassee. Let's say that I'm wanting to, my destination, my goal is to get to Atlanta. And I get on the interstate heading in the direction of Atlanta, and it will tell me the sign will tell me X number of miles to get to said place, right? And there's certain major cities that I will hit along the way to my destination. Your goals are the same way. There are certain, there are little there's all these miles that I will hit, that you'll hit along the way, but then you also will get to some major cities that are like big. You're going through all these small towns, but then you hit a larger city, right? Goals are the same way. You want to set to figure out what those milestones are along your journey, those big things. So like if it's starting a business, maybe one of the milestones is filing your paperwork, all of the necessary paperwork for you to be a legal business. It might be getting a website up. It might be establishing your branding, like whatever those big milestones are, the key elements that are essential for your goal achievement. Those are the things that we would consider to be milestones. And then we want to take those milestones and figure out, like, what's the first milestone? What's the very next step that you need to achieve? Excuse me. I didn't bring any water with me. What's the very first one that you need to achieve that's going to move you along the journey, right? So maybe for me, I might need to go through, I'm trying to think. If I go the long way, I would hit Valdosta first to Atlanta, right? So what's the first milestone that you need to do, that you need to hit in order to be on track? And then start figuring out what are the activities, what are the tasks, what are the things that I need to do in order to get to that first milestone? Instead of focusing on, I've got to get to Atlanta, let me first get to Valdosta. That's a smaller step, right? And I want to talk, before I get into breaking it down, how to break your goals down or your milestones down into those smaller tasks. I want to talk about the difference between outcome-based goals and activity-based goals, right? So the outcome-based goal is me getting to Atlanta. That's the outcome. I'm getting on the road and I'm going to drive and get to Atlanta, Georgia. However, so it's focused on the end result. However, activity-based goals are focused on the activities that will drive the end result, right? So the activity is me getting in the car and actually driving for X number of miles. And there are certain, milestones, so every hour, my goal might be to drive a certain number, 60 miles every hour. Or if we're being speed demon, 80 miles every hour, whatever, right? So there's a big difference there. And what I really like to teach my clients is to, once you've established your outcome goal, I want you to focus on the activity-based goal, right? The outcome goal is there, but our focus is really going to be on the activity-based goal, because the activity is the thing that drives the result. And if you do the activities at the level that you need to in order to ensure the end result, then that's where your focus should be on. Okay, so let's go to talking about, let's talk about sales, right? So if you want to make a certain amount of money, let's say you wanted to make $10,000 this week, and you know that your close rate is, for every 10 people you talk to, you're going to close 2, and your product is $1,000, right? That means that you need 10 people, right? You need 10 people to purchase. Well, if your close rate is, 20%, then that means that you need to talk to how many people? 50 people this week in order for you to hit your goal. So your focus is not on how much money am I making every day of the week, but your focus is on, am I talking to 10 people every day? Or, breaking that, I'm taking that and breaking it down into, if I got to talk to 50 people for the week in order for me to hit my goal, and I work Monday through Friday, then that means I need to do 10 calls a day. I need to talk to 10 people a day to get my 2. Now, Monday, I might do my 10 calls and I might sell 1 person. Then Tuesday, I might make my 10 calls and hit my 2 people. Wednesday, I might make my 10 calls and sell 4 people. right? So it's gonna vary, but it's going to average out over time. You want to focus on the law of averages. And if you've established that that's what, in order for you to get your end result, this is the specific activities and the level of activity that I need to be at in order for me to hit my goal, then that focusing on that is going to help you get some short-term wins, right? Because one of the reasons why people falter on annual goals is because it's so far and so far in the future, right? We like pleasure, we like accomplishment, and so we don't like delayed gratification. So focusing on these activity-based goals that are short-term, very short-term, give you quick wins, because you're like, I did my 10 today. I did my 10 today, right? Every day you can say, I did my 10 today. And there's a sense of accomplishment because you did what you said you were going to do. And there's so you've got a little bit of a like dopamine reward for actually accomplishing what you wanted to accomplish. So I think that's really important for us to talk about. All right, so now let's actually get into crafting like your blueprint, right? Coming up with your plan. Now that we know the difference between outcome-based and activity-based goals, it's important for you to go through the process of crafting your plan to get from point A to point B, to your destination. So there's a few things that I want you to think about. It's like, or you're going to plot your course, right? You're going to figure out what your milestones are, and you're going to focus on that very first one, and doing the things that you need to do in order to hit that first milestone. But here's the thing. Every plan, no matter how good it is, when you put it into play, when you put it into action, there's going to be some resistance that shows up. There's going to be some sort of detour, roadblock, pitfall, speed bump. Something is going to happen. Something's going to come up that will hinder your progress along the journey to your goal. But a lot of that you can plan for. So I want you to plan for the resistance. What does that look like? That looks like identifying in advance any potential obstacles that could come up. So if we were going back to my sales goal, right? What are some of the things that might get in the way of me making my 10 calls a day? Well, maybe I didn't plan it out, right? So I didn't identify, if I don't identify who I'm going to call the day before, then I might waste a lot of time trying to figure out who I want to contact. So maybe instead of waiting until the day of to figure out who I'm going to call, maybe I decide at the beginning of the week who I'm going to call on for the week. Because you also have to take into consideration that somebody might not be available the day that you call them. They might not be available for you to actually have the call. So you want to make sure that you're actually talking to the volume of people you need to talk to. So that might be a potential roadblock, but you can plan and prepare for that. And one of the things that is really crucial when you go through this process of identifying any potential roadblocks, anything that could come up along the way in advance, and then coming up with a plan or a strategy on how you're going to handle it if it comes up, then you're making the decision from a place of peace and calm, not from pressure. Because we tend to, when we're under the gun, when we're in pressurized situations, we tend to not make the best decisions. Not everyone. Some people are really good under pressure, but a lot of us, we kind of crumble when the pressure is on us. So going through the process of identifying what could possibly go wrong, what could come up, and how you will handle that particular situation in advance will help you if and when the time comes for you to have it, because now you've already got your plan. So the next thing that you need to do after you've identified your roadblocks and come up with your plan for how you're going to deal with them is to review your process. Review your progress, Review your progress on a weekly basis. Take a look at your activity levels. Did I hit my goal for the week? And remember, your goal is the 10 calls, not the $10,000, right? Your goal is to hit the calls, hit the number of calls. Do you still track how much revenue you bring in? Absolutely. You still track the outcome-based goal, but that's not where our focus is. And then after you've had a week or two, a couple weeks of data, or you're doing the same activities week after week, once you have the data, a couple weeks of data, now you can take a look at it and figure out, well, am I doing enough activity in order to get the results? So maybe you started with 10 calls a day, and after 2 weeks, you're still, you're only halfway to your goal each week. So then maybe you're realizing that, oh, well, 10 calls isn't enough because I'm making 10 calls, but I'm not actually reaching 10 people. So maybe I'm reaching, let's say I'm reaching 7. On average, I'm reaching 7 out of the 10 people. So then that means maybe you need to make 13 calls or 15 calls in order to get to the 10 calls that you need, 10 calls that you need to actually talk to people so that you can close the sales, right? But if you're not tracking it, if you're not reviewing your progress and tracking that on a weekly basis or daily basis, then what ends up happening is you don't know why you're not hitting your goal. And it can be very discouraging to say, well, I did the work and, I did the 10 calls and I'm not hitting my goal. So I'm just going to throw that goal out the window and go try something different, right? No, readjust as necessary. Now, I don't encourage you to change your goal, your outcome-based goal. You need at least 4 to 6 weeks of activity to see if your goal needs to change, because maybe you really did overestimate what you could accomplish, right? But not after a week or 2 weeks are you saying it's not working, I'm changing my goal. No, we're going to change our activity first and see if the increase or decrease, whatever it is, see if the change in activity produces the results that we're after, right? Look for ways to make it work instead of changing the goal. And then the last thing that I would say is to just keep moving forward. Focus on the things that you can do today to move you closer to your goal, right? It's this process called Kaizen. I learned this term when I was in college, when I was getting my social work degree. It is basically teeny tiny baby steps in the right direction, right? So that's why I like to break things down into those tiny activity-based goals, because if you could focus on the small thing, then it's not overwhelming. It's like, okay, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It could be very intimidating to look at this big, huge elephant. You probably would lose your lose your appetite looking at the elephant going like, I can't eat all of that. So I'm not even gonna try. I don't even have an appetite anymore. I don't want to be bothered with it. But you just take off, grab the ear, cut off the ear and start just eating the ear one bite at a time. That's what I'm going to tackle the ear this week. And I'm just going to tackle the ear one bite at a time. That's how you have to take your big, hairy, audacious goals and break them down into smaller milestones and then into smaller bite-sized pieces. And I guarantee you, if you follow this process, then you will be able to consistently achieve your goals. That's all I have for you today. I hope that this has been helpful for you. And let me know in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Tell me what you think. Are you going to go through this process? Is this easy? Does this seem a lot easier to you to achieve your goals if you go through this process of breaking things down? I'd love to hear from you. That's all for now. I'll see you right back here next week, Tuesday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time for our next live stream. I'm still trying to come up with some names for these. I'm leaning towards Teach Me Tuesdays, where I do trainings on Tuesdays, and then Thursdays, I'm thinking about calling Thought Leader Thursday, where I talk about share my opinion on various topics that are that impact executive leaders and entrepreneurs in the marketplace. So that's all for now.